but mostly about practical advices about adoption of testing and test-driven development in team. My name is Max. I'm from Django Stars. It's a company in Kyiv, and we are adopting a lot of different software methodologies. What is the biggest problem with every software methodology? It's description of some pony country. It's Wonderland with the milk made from the river made from milk with marshmallows, but actually nobody knows how to get to this country. Adoption of methodology is kind of road to this country, and you meet some strange things like non-confident customers, your colleagues who think that you don't need to write tests. The idea of my topic is provide you some guidelines. It's actually not the universal answers for everything, but it's kind of guidelines, like you see the stone, turn left. Okay, we will start from really simple things. It should know every test developer. You should know what does it mean assert. Assert is just a Python command which provides you a way to check something. If this check is fallen, then everything is broken. And with these things, you can check program invariants, some contracts, and provide some documentation for your colleagues, and provide sometimes some runtime check of your logic. Okay, some examples. We will check an invariant. Consider you have some function which rely on database, that you have a database connection. You just check if database closed on the moment of function begin, then everything is broken. Then actually you need to check, you need to repair something somewhere else. And the same in the end function. You just check that you don't accidentally close the database. The same is contract. Consider you write a simple function. First upper. You just take a string and just return the first letter uppercase. You can check that you have a string as an argument and a string length more than 0. And the same with result. We just check that this is still a string and the length of this is 1. It's a simple example, but you can do the same with more complicated things. Don't do what you don't expect. The same is runtime checks. Consider you have some switch case and the target value can be X, Y, or Z. Just check that, for example, D isn't possible. Just don't do that. Assertion exception, it's a thing which you don't need to handle if you don't develop something like testing library. If something fails, it means that something broken. You need to repair something. You don't need to handle it. Okay, a little bit of practice. Consider we have a function and we take square root. For example, we test that square root of 4 returns 2. Should we provide a test for 9, for example? I guess not. Should we provide a test for 4 with half? Actually, it depends. And the same for -1. The answers for this question actually in terms of requirements. If, for example, we do the square root function for only natural numbers, we can say, okay, it's our contract says that we check only natural numbers. So 4 and half, we don't need to handle it some way. We just can say, I don't want to do this. But if you provide some kind of library, then we need to write all these tests. And this small example shows three concepts. First of all, black box. If we want to test something, we need to provide a way to think about it as a black box. Just a function which takes an argument and returns something. And we can measure this argument and measure the return value. In real life, it's hard to do that sometimes. But the rest part of my topic is describing how we can think about our server as a black box. The other thing is positive and negative logic. As I said, for example, if we think about only function which takes only natural numbers, then other numbers except natural have negative logic. We can check it, for example, that we return value error or something like this. And the other thing is domains of input. If it says that we check, actually there is no reason to check that 9 returns 3. Because those numbers are in the same domain of input. It's, I guess there is some proof of these things, but you just should think, what I need to provide another domain of input. For example, 1 is another domain of input because it returns the same value. 0 is another domain of input. But 4 and 9, it's one domain of input. It provides anything new for your test. Okay, theoretical part is over. We start practical. A lot of people start to write tests for their project and after that stop with them or just have a tiny test suite which actually don't work. And there is some guidelines how to start and don't stop. Firstly, don't start with Selenium. Selenium is really complicated thing. You can do everything with it, but the problem, you need a special guy who spend 8 hours per day to work with it. The other thing, don't test UI. The problem here, it's really complicated to measure what does it mean green, for example. Or what does it mean in the top left corner. You will spend a lot of time doing this, and so you change your test a lot. It's a problem actually, because nobody wants to write test. Everybody wants to write some code and provide some product. And if you maintain your test more than your code, it's a problem for a customer, for yourself, for your colleagues. Think about maintenance. If actually you can say that this test checks something and it doesn't broken every 3 hours, okay, it should work. If you just write a test, spend a day, and next day you say, okay, it's broken, and I need to redefine what does it mean green, it's a problem. And someday your customer said something like, okay, guy, you spend 2 hours on code and 8 hours on test. Maybe we don't need this. Grow a test suite carefully. What does it mean? Actually, there are guys who don't write tests. And the reason why they do that, it's really hard to start. The idea here, if something broke in testing, you find that today something broken, okay, just write a test for it. The other thing broken, write a test for it. In a month or 2 months, you found yourself with a tiny and nice test suite which actually tests the most important part of your logic. And for your team and for your team leader or your customer, it's a value because it provides you some kind of confidence that I write something and it doesn't broken anything. Okay, don't test everything. it's much the same as don't test UI. There are things which is really hard to test. For example, something asynchronous. But you can simplify this case. For example, with salary, you can say that do all the computation green. Think about you can simplify the salary to work like a synchronous call. You call the task and it runs immediately. But there is thing which you actually can't simplify. For example, as I said, Selenium. It really do some interesting things. For example, if you have a single-page application, you can't use it with tools which I provide a little bit further. But it's really hard to maintain such tests. After a month, you will find yourself saying, okay, the test is broken and it's okay, I don't want to maintain it. Start from simple things. Sorry. Okay, so now it's the time of examples. We will talk about Django. We mostly use Django, and it's a nice framework, but there are some other frameworks, and I guess you can adopt those ideas to any other framework. The first idea here, no shared state. Don't use pictures. What's the problem with pictures? They're hard to maintain. It's really cumbersome. You need to go to some JSON file and change something. They're not descriptive. You see that somebody was a picture code users, but you actually don't know what's the data in the picture. And it's JSON. As you know, JSON isn't a part of Python. It's just a foreigner for Python, I guess. What is better? Factory point. Factories for data. The idea here is just a Python code. It provides you explicit input data for a test, and it's really easy to create complicated data sets. For example, one-to-n relations or many-to-many relations. And it provides you some framework to work with everything. Relational database or non-relational database. There are some samples. As you can see, I just extend some Django models. I say that I need outer factory, and it's a factory for outer model. And I provide a rule to create a name. I just said that name created sequentially. For example, name 0, name 1, name 2, and the other. And the same for posts, but I provide a subfactory for outer. For example, if I create a post, I should have an outer field. And for every post, I will create a new outer. And I just check that everything works as I expected. I just create a post and say, I want to check that outer is defined. Okay. As I said, don't use Selenium, but what we should use instead. If you think a little bit, you understand that our server is actually a black box. It takes a request and returns a response. What's the problem? The problem here is the initial state of our server. And with factory boy and the factories, now you can think that, okay, we have two arguments. The first one is initial state. The second one is request response. And now we can measure, the second one is request. And now we can measure response in some way. How we do it? The idea is a tiny library called web test. It's just provide you a tool set for work with response. And a nice library called Django web test. It provides some nice tools for working with Django. Authentication, some built things like assert template used or something like this. I guess there are the same libraries for every mature framework. For example, for Flask, I guess. Okay, the overviews of this of the library. It's faster than Selenium because it doesn't provide you a way of render something or to evaluate JavaScript. It provides a convenient form handling and provides you a convenient authentication. Okay, how it works. We just load a fixture, we use reverse, it's return a URL for us, and we go for this URL, take a form, fill the form with username and password, and submit it, and follow. And just check that in context of our response, we have a user. And if the username is full, then we are logged in. Okay, but actually this test is a little bit broken because we use a fixture. We don't actually know what the data is in user JSON. And if somebody broke this test, we need to go to a fixture, check it, and there is a guy who likes to do a big fixture, which is something like a few pages, and you need to read it, and it's boring. Okay, we can improve it. Just use a factory. We create the same things, but with factory. Django, by default, says that every test is in transaction. So, on the moment of start of test start, our database is empty. So, when we create a factory, when we use a factory, there is only one user. It's a really nice thing because you don't need to check that somebody else created a user with the same name before. It simplifies everything. And the rest of the test is the same. The same can work with query params. For example, consider you have a search. You just go to the proper URL, add some params, and check, for example, that we have the proper template. After template used, search HTML. Okay, easy and nice. Okay, consider we want to check a sign up. We can create our user instance with a build strategy. It just creates an instance, but doesn't save it in our database. We do this and sign up with our username and user password. And after that, we can check that we have proper data, proper user in our database. The test is nice and easy to maintain. The same with a little bit more complicated example. We can perform search. We populate our database with a user and with a few posts. After that, we make a request to our endpoint and check that we have the proper things in our context. And just measure the length. Actually, it's enough on the moment. As you can see, it's really easy to work with these things with a REST API. Consider we have a test case, we need to check GVT authentication. We just make a request to login endpoint, take a token, and try to call the guarded URL with our token. We put the token to our headers. And so the same example, but with creating a post. Okay, what's the idea here? The idea automates the boring things. Somebody says it's much easier to test something manually. You need to do a lot of job to write test. Find some library, understand how do you want to test it, maybe build some continuous integration, something like this. But actually, you just automate some things. For example, consider have a simple text search. It's kind of pseudocode. You just create some post and you want to vary some string. Consider we have free post with the text and query a string foobar. What it should return in this case? Any ideas? Actually, there are possible a few answers. I guess in the most simple case, it just return the first post. But careful developer says something like, okay, customer, what should I return in case when I have more than one answer? How should I arrange them? And the customer says something. I guess the older post is more important, or a new post is more important. And you write your code, and now you need to test everything. You go to your admin side, create the first post, the second, the third, change something. Okay, test, everything works. Now the customer says something like, okay, I realize that we need to change our search a little bit. Range, for example, the newer post should be in the top of the search. You do the same. You change your code. You're going to your admin side and create the 5 posts. Actually, it's boring. And if you do it a lot and the logic is complicated, sometimes it's really hard to do that. And in this case, it's really easy to understand what determines the ranging algorithm. But there is another case when there is not only text, but a lot of different things. With our tests, it's really easy to provide those domains of input. It's, for example, for me, it's much easier to write some code than a lot of mouse clicking. Okay, the other thing, don't use mocks. Mocks is a problem. The main idea here, they're hard to maintain. And if you use mocks, it's a problem because you can change something and actually the test doesn't fail. Except there is a case with third-party API. For example, Twitter or Facebook or something other. It's a sample of a real project. It's really impossible to maintain this thing. You don't understand what happens and you just skip this test if it fails. A little bit better example. You just mock the answer of Facebook API. Just provide the data for mock and use everything as just as integration test. Actually, you have no other way to test it, no simple way to test it. Okay, some other ideas. No logic in test. The test isn't a code actually, it's just kind of description. China code works here. It should be easy to maintain it. If you want to create another test, just copy-paste. It's not a place for any logic. Loops, conditions, metaprogramming, no. Easy to maintain, the main idea. One class of data input, one test method. Okay, there are some guys who write something like, okay, as a user I'm login, as a user I sign up, I'm login, and now I create a post, another post, and you have something like 5,000 of code lines. It's a problem to maintain such test. The test should be easy. You say, okay, I have one post, I search for you. I have a result, or I have no result. Okay, that's the problem. It's, I guess we finished with practical part, and now we start kind of mental part. You can find yourself saying, guys, okay, tomorrow is release, but we need to maintain our test suite. Actually, don't do that. It's really easy to be this guy, and you think, okay, I have a white horse and a sword, and they say, guys, go with me. But nobody likes this guy. I guess it's better to be somebody like this. You just need to say, okay, it's really easy to do something. You need 10 minutes to do a test for your code. Here's a sample. Just do that. If you don't want, I can help you. And it's better. And someday you find that your test suite is really big. You cover everything. And the other things here, if you find that some part of a project isn't covered with tests, it means that nobody uses this part of project because nobody break it. Okay, I guess it's everything. Thanks. Is there any question?
Hello, and first of all, thank you for your speech. If really I don't agree with many things you say, but I want to ask a question that on which I can get an answer. If I understand right, that you were talking about black box testing, yeah? Mostly.
Actually, it's kind of theory. It's really hard to say. Is it black box testing or something other? It's a part of theory, and I don't want to.
Yeah, but if you mean black box testing, you should really act like a real user. So you should open your browser, click something, and do something. And I can't understand why, if you're doing black box testing, you are using requests and requiring some data in response. So I can't imagine a user which will open in terminal like curl and go on your site and send some responses.
As I said, this is a question of practice.
That's all for my questions.
This is a question of practice. There is some ideal world where it's really easy to write a Selenium test, but actually it's a problem. You need to write proper locator. You need to know how to run it. Provide some framework to run the test, and how it should work with your database. With Django, it's a little bit easier because there is a live server test case, I guess, but actually it's a problem. And to provide your team examples how to do this, you need to spend something like a week, for example. It's just an assumption. And actually you don't have this time. Start from simple things. It's not a kind of silver bullet. You can test everything. But if, for example, you can test 50% of your logic with something like a month, it's much better than test 20% with the same month. think about the value of your tests. And with these tools, from my perspective, you can provide more value with less resources.
Okay, let's stick to the second.
Hi, I have a question regarding the web test framework and for Django that you showed. What's the advantage over the built-in Django? In a test case, you have self.client and you can use request, get, post, etc. What's the advantage of the web test framework over the built-in one? If you have a test case in Django, you have a built-in client for requesting posts, gets. What's the advantage of the web test framework you showed over the built-in one?
Yeah, I understand your idea. Actually, Django thinks, Django test framework thinks about your view as an isolated part. But Django provides you some middleware pipeline. And actually, there is no reason to test only your view. Test the whole pipeline. For example, if you test a view, there is nothing which knows about authorization. But web test, it's just kind of wrapper library. It provides you another middleware which think about your about inside middleware as a completely separate part, and you use the whole middleware pipeline. Is the answer?
Well, but the built-in Django client uses the middleware as well.
Okay, maybe. I guess we start from Django 1.6 and it used only views, and it was a problem. Because you can test, for example, you can test a notification, for example, or some permissions.
No, it's always used to be, if you use get, post methods over client object, you have like just regular get, post request with
I guess after the presentation we can check. If you show me how to do that, it will be the answer. But when I tried, there is no easy way to check something except a view.
In our application, we use SQL Alchemy, and we have a lot of methods which looks like, fetch some data from database, perform some calculation, update the table. And if we test them, there's a problem. After the test, after we execute the method, the database state change because we update some records. Yep. And the problem is that tests are not separated. In fact, I don't know how to solve the problem.
The idea here, how to provide a clean or cold database. How to provide a clean or cold database and at the beginning of every test. The Django says you need to wrap every test case in a transaction. So you start from clean database, perform some act with it, and when you check your assumption or assertion, you just roll back the transaction. It works, I guess, in 90% of cases. The other 10 is related to other transaction, and in this case there is no easy way to answer. You need to clean your database by yourself after every test. Any other question? Okay, thanks a lot.